Good morning. You have just tuned in to Dominate the Day with your host, SaDon L. And I need you to get your cousins, your sisters, your nephews, your aunties, your sons and your neighbors, and let them know that we are about to give you what you need to succeed. What we do here in Dominate the Day is each week we bring in entrepreneurs, impactful people, business owners, people who can help you get from prophecy to profit, who can help you go from the thing in your head to it actually being so. Now, this week, I got an exciting guest. He is a local hero, local legend, business owner, entrepreneur, award-winning retailer, and a member of the school board. He is going to give you his story, he's going to give you some tips, and he's really going to help move you forward in your own dreams. Without further ado, I bring to you Dwayne Rancifer.
Good evening. Good morning. Good morning. First of all, I would like to, when he first started introducing me, I'm looking around the room because he had all these great things to say. I'm like, is it somebody else in the room that we wasn't expecting? But thank you, SaDon. Thank you. I appreciate everything you said. But just want to come in here. First I'm honored. Thank God for the opportunity to come in on the radio this morning and just share my story of how I became an entrepreneur. A lot of people ask me what are the keys to success. I'm always getting asked, or how do you succeed? What did it take for you to do to get to the point to where you are today? So hopefully today I'll be able to shed a little light on that, and look forward to helping somebody in their growth through entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. Now, you and I have known each other for a while. So, I've got a chance to see you literally grow from a teenager to a grown man with businesses and property and kids and all these different things in your life going on. So what do you think was different for you as a child, coming from the same kind of environment a lot of our kids come from, which is drugs, violence, gangs? What was different for you?
So that I would say the biggest difference for me is staying and keeping my eye on the big picture, because obviously you got all of these things around you, the gangs, the drugs, and growing up in the inner city, a lot of us are faced with these things. But my idea was just staying on the big picture, knowing, having a vision in mind of what I wanted to accomplish long term, and just keeping my eyes on that vision and not looking back and not getting deterred from the different distractions is what I would say.
Okay. Now, one thing I've always known you to have is great work ethic. And the people that know us both would always talk about, that you were always selling something, even when we were kids. Right. So did you get that from like your uncles? How'd you get to have that kind of mentality?
Honestly, that was just a gift from God, because I was born an entrepreneur from day one. Before I even know what an entrepreneur was, SaDon, I was selling, swapping games, selling games to different friends, buying them, selling to another friend for profit. So I like to say I was GameStop before GameStop. So, I was doing all of that even before I knew this is what an entrepreneur is. I was doing all of these things. So, it was just a gift from God. It wasn't something that I inherited from necessarily someone. My grandfather actually had some entrepreneurial traits about himself and characteristics. So him, but I definitely like to think that it was definitely a gift from God.
Amen. Well, thank God for you. Now, before you became an entrepreneur, what did you do?
That's probably where we met. I was coming right out of high school, 18 years old, looking for a job while I was going through college, just something to, keep a little money in my pocket, along with, being a barber. So at that point, we met at Foot Locker, and it was just a part-time gig, while I was going through college. And then I realized selling was something that I was naturally good at and gifted at. So I just took it from there. 10 years later, I was a general manager for Foot Locker. Won numerous awards at Foot Locker, from Manager of the Year to Coaches Award to Sales Leadership Awards. And, I like to say every day going in, it wasn't a job for me. It was just something that I loved to do, which was naturally gifted, which was selling.
Okay. Now, we knew each other from Foot Locker, and that was a pretty big deal. I mean, general manager, you in a store 10 minutes from your house, a lot of people looking up to you and excited about what you were doing, and then you just walked away from it.
SaDon, walking, I would like to say I just walked away. I would like to say more so God kind of pushed me away because it was no longer, I felt at Foot Locker they had taught me everything. I learned as much as I could from them, so it was time for me to move on. And a lot of entrepreneur, that have the entrepreneurial spirit, I was fearful of making that step. But what happened was, a different owner management came in, executive management team came in, and just felt that I didn't fit their line of what they were looking, the direction that they were looking to go. So they kind of gave me the ultimatum of, hey, this is where it needs to be, and if you can't get there, then we're going to move in a different direction. So that day I turned in my letter of resignation, and I was like, this is God telling me it's time for me to move in a different direction. And the reason I knew I was going to be okay and not necessarily saying everything was going to work perfect is, my last day at Foot Locker, I walking through the mall and I see a sign which is, actually still in my office. There was a sign, a picture that had a guy stepping out on faith. And I'm like, this is definitely a message from God. So it was at that very point that I knew no matter what, I was going to be okay. That picture still is in my office today, 12 years later, and it has been some trials, some learning experience, some failures, but I've stayed true, and God definitely has carried me along the way.
Wow. Now, when you walked away, did you ever think, well, maybe I'll just go get another job?
I knew everything that I had accomplished at Foot Locker, that opportunity would always be there for me to go back to corporate America because I had a decent resume, but that wasn't even something that I even thought about having to go back to. I just said, if this is the direction that God wants me to go, I'm gonna follow His lead and know that He's gonna carry me along the way. So, and I knew I was due for an uphill battle, but I was just ready. I was prepared. The biggest thing I would tell entrepreneurs is don't be afraid to fail. Just do it. You just got to go out there and do it. Don't be like, well, what happened if it don't work? If it don't work, then you start all over. You go back to the drawing board. Don't be afraid to fail.
Wow. So now I know you, and I know you pretty well. So interviewing you now is really like I'm asking questions I know the answer to. But one of the things that always struck me as real interesting about you is you're an avid reader. So at that time, were you reading your Bible? Were you reading books? What was going on in your head?
You're right, SaDon. I'm a very, very avid reader. As a matter of fact, I read somewhere about Warren Buffett, which is one of the most successful men in the world. He reads about 8 hours a day.
Wow.
And, he says, everybody said, well, why you read so much? He was like, because you learn something that the average person won't know. One day he made an investment, bought Coca-Cola, and when in buying Coca-Cola, what he did was just because he read somewhere how much Coca-Cola sells per day in terms of their beverages. So he read, I can make, if I buy Coca-Cola, purchase Coca-Cola, if I just increase the sales per bottle by 1 cent, I'll make an additional $1 million a year. So it's knowledge. It's knowledge and reading. I mean, you just can't be kind of enclosed to your environment. Reading just puts you everywhere in the world and whatever you want to do. So I try to read on successful people, on failures, books on failures, because I know that's inevitable when becoming an entrepreneur. So I just read as much as possible on different books on succeeding, on different books on leadership, because you only can be as successful as the people that you lead. So I think reading different books on leadership is very crucial to your success as an entrepreneur as well.
Absolutely. And with that being said, did you feel like you didn't fit in? Because I know a lot of our kids, they get stuck in trying to be cool. And when they're young, when they should be reading, they want to be with their friends, they want to be in a lot of different places. So how did you deal with them not fitting in?
Well, actually, ironically enough, SaDon, I did fit in when I was a kid. I didn't understand the importance of reading, and that just goes to another testimony. As I was growing, I was actually in remedial reading courses, and I didn't, I just thought that that's where I needed to be. I didn't never challenge myself on reading or reading. It wasn't until I got into my college years that I understood the importance of how much far actually I was behind, and I just read, and became an avid reader, and so I did fit in, but not necessarily in the gangs and the drugs, but hanging with the friends, not taking schoolwork as important as I should, but reading. I didn't do a lot of reading in elementary, junior high, or high school. I was in a remedial courses, so I always like to use that as a testimony. It's not where you begin, but it's your journey. Life is a journey and not a destination. So,
absolutely. And for my people at home, if you have kids that you want really to start pouring into, start buying them books.
Absolutely.
I know we spend a lot of money on sneakers and stuff like that, but if you invest in books and invest in courses and classes for your kids, I think that'll really start to push them in the direction that they want to go to follow their dreams.
Absolutely. One thing I did with my kids is, I told them, you want Jordans. Jordans come out every few months. What I'll do for you is I won't buy you those Jordans. But if you read on stocks and read on this, when a pair of Jordans come out, the cost of those Jordans, I'll give you that money, and you make that money, and you invest that money in the stock of your suggestions. So, I'm trying to get my kids to look at it different, because I look at it like this. If I gave you the money, you spent them on Jordans, they ain't gonna be no good in a couple months anyway. But if I gave you the money, even if you didn't make it on the stocks and all of that, you still know, hey, this is another option that I can use to invest my money versus just wasting it on a pair of Jordans that's going to be kind of obsolete in a few months.
Yeah, we know firsthand from being there. We got the guys that would come in habitually.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, how'd you get into the cell phone business?
Again, it wasn't me that got in the cell phone business. It was definitely a vision from God. I left Foot Locker to do real estate, and one day I'm sitting in my office, and just me, and real estate, that's when the economy took a hard hit, and I'm just sitting in my office literally shaking my head like, God, asking God, what I'm gonna do? And he literally took my head to a cell phone sign across the street, and it was a cell phone company, prepaid cell phone company. I'm like, okay, let me see. I called there. An hour later, I'm set up on the on that cell phone company, and the rest is history. 14 stores later, I would say God definitely led me in the right direction. So that's how I got. I literally called on God, and that's direction He sent me in.
Wow. So going into real estate falls apart, and out of nowhere, a sign.
Yeah, I out of somewhere. Absolutely, definitely. That's exactly how I got into real estate. Cell phones.
Yeah. So we got 14 stores. Are they all Chicagoland area?
Well, I currently have 14 cell phone stores, Northwest Indiana, South Chicagoland. I have one in Muncie, Indiana. In addition to that, I have 5 cash or gift card stores where that's a new industry. It's kind of been around for a little while, but kind of the average consumer don't know about it. Well, a lot of people have gift cards, whereas places you might get a gift card to a Red Lobster, but you're allergic to seafood. So what does that do for you? So that we'll buy that gift card for a portion of the value. So that's a new industry that I'm getting involved in as well. Been involved in that about a year and a half. So collectively, I have about 20 locations. Some of my gift card stores are in various cities: Atlanta, Houston, Vegas, Kansas City.
Okay. So people at home, if you got those gift cards that you're not using, or you got gift cards to places you don't shop or places you don't eat, where can they go to turn those cards in?
If you Google cashforgiftcards.com, you'll see our various locations, and it'll give you the closest location to you in the Northwest Indiana, Chicagoland location.
Okay, so again, if you have gift cards that you're not using and you want to turn that into, does it come in cash?
Yeah, we give it to you right cash on the spot.
And you want to turn it into cash, make sure that you go to
cashforgiftcards.com.
Okay.
The number 4.
Number 4?
Yeah, cash4giftcards.com, the number 4.
The number 4 for giftcards.com.
Right.
Now, we've been talking about business, but another thing that you're involved in is the school board of East Chicago.
Right.
Okay. So, why the school board?
Again, SaDon, like you say, we having more of a conversation, and you know me a little bit. I've always had the passion for, giving back to my community, and a lot of what I do business-wise is to allow me that opportunity to give back to the community. And what I felt was, becoming a part of the school board would allow me that vessel in order to have a larger platform in which I can impact the kids. So that was my, main purpose and vision in getting involved in the school board of East Chicago.
Okay. And if there's one thing that you really think is important for younger kids, young adults, what would it be?
Younger kids and young adults is just, your work ethic, like we touched on earlier. Just working hard, whatever your dream is, you can't have a dream and a work ethic that contradict one another. They have to be in alignment, because one thing about greatness is, if greatness ever feels that you're trying to cheat it in order to achieve it, it won't allow it. So I think you got to just keep that in mind.
Amen. Now, one thing I always like to say, I like to say that success is rented, and as soon as you stop paying the rent, it puts you out.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah, so you got to pay for it every day. I mean, we were talking before you came, and you were finishing up your workout. So how does your health play a role in what you do?
I mean, you got to be healthy, physically in order to take on the grind of entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship is going to be strenuous, and if you're not in good health, you're not going to be able to endure some of the things that go along with it, so it's very critical that you stay physically strong as well as mentally strong, and obviously physically is going to the gym, going running, or whatever you can do, and the mentally strong is constantly reading up and staying in tune in the industry that you're involved in, and just becoming an expert in that particular industry.
Absolutely. So for my people at home, what does your day look like?
My day typically starts at around 5:30. I get up, get prepared, work out. I try to read the Bible as frequently as possible every morning, because again, there's nothing new under the sun that's not in that Bible. So, I try to read the Bible. I definitely try to work out every day and just get prepared for the day, kind of set an agenda, a tone of what that day is going to look like. And, pretty much 5:30 sun up to sundown is how I grind. So, nonstop.
Okay. Now, was there anything that surprised you once you got into entrepreneurship? Like, was it harder than you thought it would be? Was it easier?
Great question. I say it was a little bit of both, because one thing I learned is how you do anything is how you do everything. So the same work ethic that I had at Foot Locker, I just transitioned that over to, my entrepreneur and, real estate and retail, and the transition was easy, because I actually was an entrepreneur at Foot Locker. Even though it wasn't mine, I treated it as mine, because again, how you do anything is how you do everything. So that part was easy, and the difficult part is, at the end of the day, it all falls on your shoulders. I mean, you can't go to the owner or the CEO and say, hey, I need extra, money to pay these employees. If you can't meet payroll, they coming after you. So, that's the hard part, and just understanding that's part of the process. And my biggest advice to all entrepreneurs is just trust the process. You can't rush it. You can't cheat greatness. You got to trust the process and take every level by level.
Amen. So, you got any heroes? You got any mentors? Any people you look at for inspiration?
Absolutely. I think, God places different individuals in your life in order to get you to where he wants you to be. The steps of a righteous man are ordered. So, a lot of the people that has inspired me is from early met you when I came over to, Foot Locker. I had, my high school girlfriend, her father was an influence to me. When I went to Foot Locker, yourself, Randall Morgan, Jerome Battle, and, I've always had people, and always, my pastor, I've always had people placed in my life that I've always, at the end of the day, I look at like, man, God strategically placed these people in my life, and it just, worked out great.
Awesome. And I mean, I agree with you there. Now, you an inspiration to me as well, because I remember how we came up. I remember you and Ray and Reese, God rest them, and being around a lot of young men trying to do the right thing.
Right.
And if I had to say anything to you or anyone else, man, is you don't know how important you are to the community. For my ladies that are listening, the uncles, the coaches, the pastors, the deacons, get your kids around good men.
Absolutely.
I know it's a lot of men out there, and they want to help. They want to wrap their arms around these kids. So put them in places where they can be around young men.
Absolutely. That's critical. That's critical, because those are the individuals that help me stay in line with what God wanted me to be. So I think it's critical to get stay around those people. And one day I asked my pastor, I'm like, Pastor, do everybody have those, God placed you and other people in my life? And he said, well, a lot of times God placed those people, those same type of people in other people's lives, but they don't be so welcoming to it. So I think we gotta, as men, as leaders in our community, we gotta reach out to someone within the community that we see is struggling, whether that's from peer pressure, bullying, or whatever the case, and kind of mentor him, take him up under our wing. But, as mothers, I would like to say, you definitely want to reach out to a mentor within your community and try to keep your child, because the thing about the streets is, they'll borrow your child, but they go take them from you, and it ain't no turning back from the streets once they got them, for the most part.
Absolutely. Man, I really appreciate you coming on. And if there was one thing that you really wanted to get out, what would it be?
Wow, good question. I never thought of it. I mean, just first thing I would say is definitely trust God, and always lean not towards your understanding. And if you put Him first, everything else will fall into place.
Okay. So locally, where can they find you? I mean, where your store is located in the local area, Chicagoland, Southside, Northwest Indiana?
Okay, for my Boost Mobile stores and also on Metro PCS stores, my Boost Mobile stores are in, if you Google Wall Communications, WAWG Boost Mobile, it'll come, my stores will come up, but we're in East Chicago on Main Street, we're in Riverdale, we're in River Oaks, we're in, on Sibley Boulevard in Dolton, we're in Maryville on 61st inside the Ultra Foods, but yeah, and we in 51st in Michigan. So we got quite a few locations.
Okay, so we got the area on lock.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I'm talking about, definitely. And I know 4th of July, the holidays are right around the corner. You got anything going on this year? I know last year you had fireworks and some real good stuff.
Yeah, we always, every year for the last 3 years, we've been doing fireworks. Me and Dietrich Ross, my best friend Ray.
Shout out to Ray.
Definitely, shout out to Ray. We've been doing fireworks for the last 3 years, so that'll be in East Chicago on Main Street as well.
Okay. And if they want to follow you, can they find you on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram?
Facebook, I haven't got all the Twitters and all of that yet. I'll be so busy grinding. But Dwayne Rancifer on Facebook, definitely you can follow me.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you coming out.
I appreciate having me.
Hey, man, it's a blessing.
Definitely. Much love, Scott.
Definitely. So this get these gifts and they get these things that they don't quite understand, that we can actually give them the tools necessary to be successful. So if you know anyone that's doing something great in your community that you think we should get on the show, you can reach me at SaDon Long on Instagram, Long SaDon on Twitter, and SaDon Long on Facebook. And as always, I want you to remember this, if you remember nothing else. To those who have been given dominion, they were born to dominate. So keep tuning in, Keep checking in, share it with your friends. Let them know next week that we will be back.